Only one way I want to spend my final hour on air on a Monday evening. Class, intelligence and verve, and an invite to a birthday party. Isabel Oakeshott, a very good evening.
Hi. These stories about people having to basically drive people to hospital or even drive themselves to hospital are getting increasingly common, aren't they? I was contacted last week by a very senior cancer doctor who had gone to the aid of someone who collapsed at a London tube station. And the person was in a very, very, very bad way. And the doctors actually managed to stabilise. These are just other passengers who happened to be around, but happened to be doctors who were in the area and went to assist. When they rang, they managed to stabilise the patient. They rang the hospital and said, look, rang 999, we've got this patient here. And they were told, can you drive or take a taxi of this stranger to hospital? I mean, this is what it's basically come to. It's a sort of volunteer service now.
I always love the fact that we can be as candid as we are on this station. I have sat, I'm bored of it, I have sat and listened to commentators and presenters and news anchors say, you know, some of them say it needs more money and others say, no, it needs getting rid of diversity, it needs people to spend the money better. I'm going to go further. I think that the NHS needs to be knocked off its bloody pedestal, Isabel. I think people need to stop revering something that, yes, has a great reason behind it. I think the minute you criticise the NHS, people jump up and down and say, well, don't forget the doctors and the nurses, and they're all doing a great job. But the fact of the matter is, and I said it earlier, it's not fit for purpose. We've got a massive population, we've got an ageing population, but most of all, in my mind, this will go down like a lead balloon, not with you. We've opened it up, because it's free of source, to anybody, everywhere. I got told by a trust chair not half an hour ago that most of the people that come over to this country and are illegal or economic migrants are getting the treatment before the people who are paid in for years. It doesn't make sense, Isabel. It doesn't.
It really doesn't, because in the end, you know what, it's actually really simple. It's a supply and demand thing. So the NHS worked at its best when the supply of doctors and nurses and beds and other healthcare professionals matched the number of people that wanted to use the service and the demands that they made of it. Unfortunately, the population has skyrocketed and we haven't been able to keep pace with the number of doctors and nurses. And a lot of our best doctors and nurses have been part of that immigration and they've done a great service to this country, but it's not enough. You can't just keep on plundering other parts of the world for their healthcare professionals to try to keep pace with the amount of people we've got coming into our own country who are increasingly demanding very, very expensive treatment from the health service.
What would you do? How would you? Because like me, I don't think it needs any more money. I think it needs much greater management. I think it needs to, for example, people laugh. You know, somebody said earlier, if you make a doctor's appointment, you have to pay a fee, just a deposit. And if you don't turn up, because 600,000+ appointments weren't made last year, you forfeit that. I think they need to look at the private sector. I genuinely do, because the sentiment's great, but it doesn't work, Isabel. How can an 80-year-old woman be on the floor? I had a story. I want, actually, do you know what? I'm going to read this. I mean, this, if anybody listening to this does not, like, take note, listen to this. My sister is a paraplegic. This is from Gilly Reffold. I called 999 as she couldn't feel where the pain was, thought it was a heart attack. The call went out at 7 p.m. She got the ambulance. Ready for this? Ready for this? 14 hours later at 9 a.m. the following morning. We couldn't get a taxi due to her disability. The ambulance came and took her to the local hospital. No beds. She spent almost 12 hours in the ambulance. Although she was seen every now and again, she had to stay there. That ambulance was wasted for nearly 16 hours before she got a bed. I mean, God, that's... I don't even understand what you're supposed to do.
It's just awful, and we've got to stop fetishising the NHS.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
I'm afraid it just doesn't consistently deliver the standard of care that people like that elderly lady and her family deserve. You know, nobody can listen to that story and say that's okay. And the truth is, on any given day, lots of people get really good care. Yeah. The problem is that on any given day, a lot of people do not. And the NHS, by failing to provide things in a timely fashion or in the right way, does actually kill people. Yes, it saves people, but it also kills people. Now, that happens in any healthcare system, but we've got to stop pretending that the NHS is the only way to deliver healthcare. There are plenty of other countries that don't have an American-style system that get better outcomes than ours, and yet still allow everybody, no matter how poor they are, they can still get great care. It's just a different funding system.
I couldn't agree more. Something needs to go, because it's one of those things, Isabel, that is not going to go away, and it's going to get worse. And I lay the blame, I don't lay the blame at Keir Starmer. I lay the blame at successive governments who I suspect have known this was going to happen and have done nothing about it. I just wanted to jump in and change subject. I don't want to talk in too much detail about Assad and Syria and being deposed, because we had some breaking news. Watch your face, you can love this, but you can't watch your face if you're listening on the radio. Isabel Oakeshott has smiled. So we're always saying, we've gone from, not fit for purpose, the NHS. We're going to go to the Home Office. You and I have railed against the immigration problems in this country. We keep hearing that phrase, well, it's the Home Office, it's the blob, it's not fit for purpose. They don't want to do anything about it. Now, on the basis that we've all been going, come on, you need to do something about these, not the ones escaping war-torn countries, but the people who are coming to this country and taking the proverbial mickey and dropping their papers and then disappearing, blah, blah, blah. No, the Home Office can't act. No, sorry, it's very, very difficult. This afternoon, not 48 hours after the Bashar al-Assad resignation and flee to Russia in Syria, the Home Office has shockingly announced that they're going to basically freeze, ready, ladies and gentlemen, freeze decisions on Syrian asylum claims at this moment in time. So my question to you, international talk editor, is this, Isabel Oakeshott. Why the hell can't the Home Office freeze all claims right now until the system gets better or works?
Well, I mean, I think this basically everything is either frozen or just granted. When I saw that headline, which was quite a breaking news thing. Breaking news that, the government, the Home Office is to freeze immigration claims from Syria. What I thought they'd done is what they need to do is to say, actually, we're not having any more people from Syria.
Have they not said that?
That is not what's being referred to here. What they're saying is we're going to pause processing the applications that are already in the system, because these people who are already in the UK are saying, well, they were previously saying we can't go back because Assad is such a monster, so can we stay in Britain? Well, now Assad has gone. So really what the Home Office is kind of hinting at there is, since Assad has gone, then maybe actually you don't need refuge in the UK anymore.
Oh, good. So let's send them all back.
That's not going to work, though, is it? Because the new people that have come in are not exactly good guys. So essentially, that won't last. Very soon, it'll all just be back onto the normal track. Syrians who are already in the system in the UK will still be processed. Their claims will be allowed, undoubtedly, because these are terrorists that have taken over. They are no better, maybe even worse than Assad. And here's the really frightening thing. Are we now going to get an absolute influx of new refugees from Syria? People who were actually doing okay under the Assad regime and are now not doing so okay under the new terrorists that have taken charge. So the Home Office has not done something amazing there, as I initially thought when I read the headline. They're just basically pressing pause before they just allow it all again.
I mean, honestly, I don't know if you were listening, probably not, you were busy, but Ryan said something about an hour ago to me. You do come in here most days and you do sort of think the world, well, not the world, this country is struggling. There's another story today. God, I wish you could see her face today. It's going to be brilliant. Right. Britain's intelligence services have today been slammed for a racist internship that doesn't let white students apply for roles, Isabel Oakeshott, at MI5, MI6 and GCHQ. Pupils are being offered the opportunity of a paid 10 to 12 internship next summer, which promises the first steps towards an exciting full-time career in the security services. But the advert explains that the application is only open to students from a black, Asian, mixed heritage or ethnic minority and who are from a socially or economically disadvantaged background. Now, I do not have a racist bone in my body before people start jumping up and down, but I'd have thought it was a two-way street. And I would also have thought that it is highly wrong then, if you're a white 21-year-old who wants an internship, that you're now being, what, positively discriminated. I mean, how does that work? What's happening?
Well, this is a whole new thing, isn't it? Although it's been around, you know, unofficially. This is a whole new thing that you're now downgraded in terms of your application if you actually come from a better off family. But if you come, I mean, how are they going to measure this? If you can demonstrate that you were, I don't know, you were brought up on the streets, or I don't know, you came from social housing or something, then you get a special extra accommodation. But you also have to be black or ethnic minority. So I don't know where that leaves.
But what sort of message, without getting into trouble, does that send? Well, I'm all for giving equal opportunity. That's me, hand on heart. But what you're saying by this is, if you're white, you don't get a chance. And what does that say genuinely to black, Asian, Indian, whatever the culture, who's only allowed to apply for that? Do you not think you're actually patronisingly saying to these people, you can only go for the job if we sort of say others can't? Isn't it about best person for the job? Isn't that what the world's about?
Yeah, you just open up an absolute can of worms with this type of positive discrimination. I think we've gone way beyond that. I don't pretend that, you know, equality is perfect in every walk of life. Of course it isn't.
No,
you know,
it isn't.
There are plenty of inequalities that go against white, for example, in particular, white older men. I think they have a particularly...
All right, why'd you say that looking at me? What was that all about?
I think you're doing all right, actually, Jeremy.
I'm 60 next
year. You may have had some special allowances to get where you are. I don't know what they would have been for, but, you know... You can tell us what special exceptions were made for you. But the truth is that a lot of older white men are discriminated against in the workplace. I think they find it pretty hard. So I'm not in favour of any of that. Before we go, by the way, I just have to say that we have got an absolute cracker of a story coming up on Kev's show later tonight.
What you got?
All the things you and I have been talking about. You know, the way this country has gone mad. I just want to encourage everybody to tune in at 8 o'clock for a new example of the absolutely crazy abuse of taxpayers' money to give people free things. That's as much as I'm going to say at this point. Free things for certain people. Let's see.
Free things or three things?
Free, paying nothing.
Oh, well, listen. I would suggest that anybody who wants anything free should just get in a dinghy and come across the ocean, and then you get absolutely everything. Can I just say I'm really looking forward to your party?
Oh, well, is it my party or is it just Richard Tice's party? There's some discussion about this. I think he's getting a little bit...
Well, Richard Tice needs to wind his bleeding neck in, because I was told that it was a joint party, and frankly, one of the only reasons I'm coming is to spend some time with you. I think it's gone to his head, the Boston and wherever it is MP, don't you?
You see, this is basically what happens to politicians, and people like you and I have to keep them... We have to keep them knowing what their station is.
Listen, I spent a night with him watching a football match, and he can do one if he thinks he's going to be high and mighty with you and I. I'm on your side, Isabel. Don't worry. We'll get that sorted. All right? Thank you so much. So, as she says, tune in. She is with Kev tonight, an exclusive at 8.